past 2 months, we've taken you into the life of a Quad Cities man who's living with AIDS. We've seen how careful Robb Dussliere has to be with things most of us take for granted, such as the water we drink and the food we eat. We followed him to the doctor to see him begin treatment with a new drug, and we went along with Robb and his parents to pick out a grave site. Tonight, you get a chance to ask questions about Robb's life and about living with AIDS. News 4's Ken Gullette is live with Robb at the office of the AIDS Project Quad Cities. Ken?
Don, a year ago, the AIDS Project had 40 clients. Today, it has more than 200. AIDS is here in the Quad Cities, and a lot of people with HIV turn to the AIDS Project for help. A lot of our viewers will recognize the man behind me, Robb Dussliere. We've put him in the spotlight for the past couple of months. Robb, what kind of reaction have you gotten from the features that we've done?
For the most part, it's been a real good reaction. I had a lot of people calling and with their words of support and asking what they can do as far as volunteering for the AIDS Project or helping really in any way that they'd be needed. So the reaction has been really good so far.
It takes a lot of courage to put yourself on public display like you have. What would you most like to get through to people?
Well, I think one of the negative calls that we had over this, which there's only been a couple, was after the first episode that we did. A lady called and said, "Are we supposed to feel sorry for this gay man?" And there was nowhere in there in the first thing that we did that said I was gay. So just the association with the disease itself, there's still a lot of misconception about the disease. So that's the biggest thing that I feel needs to be changed.
Well, the phone lines are open here at the AIDS Project, and Robb is here along with Beth Wehrman, Executive Director of the AIDS Project. And if you have a question for Robb or a question about AIDS, call the number. Now, we're going to be back a little bit later in our newscast. Robb will be here to answer some of the questions that people call in the next few minutes. Reporting live from Davenport, I'm Ken Gullette, WHBF News 4.
Okay, thanks, Ken. We'll be back with that a little bit later.
Humidity moving in by Tuesday of next week, so boy, get those air conditioners cranking.
Fill up the baby pools.
Summertime.
Yeah, definitely.
Those are perfect. Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
We'll still ahead on News 4. Robb's live.
And we'll have a special live report.
I'm live with Robb Dussliere here at the AIDS Project Quad Cities. When we come back, Robb will answer questions that we've received on the phone during the past few minutes. We'll be back.
Robb Dussliere is a Quad Cities man living with AIDS. Tonight, viewers have had a chance to call in their own questions for Robb. News 4's Ken Gullette live with Robb at the office of the AIDS Project Quad Cities. Ken, what kind of questions have people been asking?
Well, that's what we're going to talk to Robb about right now. Robb, you had an interesting call a minute ago from a woman in Moline?
Yes, she called and she was a little bit upset. She lost her brother in the last few months to AIDS, and she wanted to just call and give me support because her brother had a fear of coming out about his disease. And until it's okay for people to talk about this and deal with it as a disease that it is, which is a chronic illness, it's not easily contracted. And until people understand that, you know, that's why we're doing things like this. That's what why the AIDS Project does education.
Why did you come out? To educate people?
Yeah, I truly believe that there will probably never be a cure and possibly never a vaccine for this, just because the virus itself is so complex. So the only vaccine or cure that we have is education, teaching people how not to contract the virus.
One of the callers asked, how do you feel now if you're in pain?
I have a little bit of a rash right now from one of the medications I'm taking, so the experimental one that we've talked about before. I'm not really in any pain. You know, I get a headache like everybody else does. If I try and do too much yard work or things like that, I get fatigued easily and a little bit of pain in my left leg. But it's the pain in this disease that comes later.
And another that ties in with another question, are you scared?
I'm not really afraid of what's coming. I know what's coming. I don't know when. I'm not afraid to die. I'm scared about you know, how long I might be bedridden or things like that. But I believe that there's something beyond this, so I'm not really scared. I don't look forward to it, but I don't fear it either.
Very quickly, one caller asked if volunteers are needed.
Volunteers are definitely needed. And volunteers, we use volunteers for phone line, we use volunteers as a buddy program, we use volunteers for transportation, for grocery shopping, to go and pick up medication for people. Just about anybody who's got some free time that would be interested in volunteering, we can find something for them to do.
All right, and here's a number to call. We're going to put a number up. The AIDS Project Quad Cities. They're here to help, and they can also accept donations. They really need it. Robb, thanks a lot for being with us, and you can see Robb's Life every Thursday night at 10 here on Channel 4. Reporting live from Davenport, I'm Ken Gullette, WHBF News 4.
Okay, thanks, Ken.